Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 2022 Scrabble Players Championship Round 13. This is a really great matchup in CSW featuring Alex Seaholm and David Eldar. Alec is the last North American Scrabble Players Champion, and David Eldar is a world-renowned Australian player. So this will be a great matchup. Alex is going to go first. Of course, I'm Morris Greenberg, and I'm here with Matt Kenick, and I'm here with Sean Abassi as well. How are you doing, guys?
Oh, I'm so excited to broadcast this game. World champion David Eldar defending U.S. or North American champion Alex Seaholm. This is going to be an incredible matchup. I promised fireworks, and I bet we're going to get to see some here. So excited. Sean, what are you thinking about this matchup?
Well, I'm not that familiar with either player. I know their reputations are fantastic, so I'm going to learn a few things. That's what this is a chance for me to sharpen my game by quite a mile. So that's always appreciated.
The stream was hogged this morning by Canadian Scrabbles, and we've got more international presence here for an American tournament. David Eldar hails from Australia, and will be bringing some talent from down under. Whereas Alec is, I believe, from the Washington State area.
So Alec is the hometown hero here. He gets that home advantage, not far from. Do you say Washington D.C. or Washington State?
Washington State.
Oh, sorry, I misheard you.
Still, compared to Eldar, he is the hometown hero. He's in his backyard compared to the travel Eldar had to make to get up here.
It just dawned on me all of a sudden.
Right. There are two Washingtons in this country. But it'll be a great game in either case. I'm like Sean. I know very little about David Eldar's strategy, but I hear nothing but incredible things and impressive results from him. His rating is routinely right up there. He's won world championships against, the cream of the crop, and those skills are certainly going to be on display for us here. Whereas Alex Seaholm is also, he played some lights out Scrabble against me back in 2019 in Reno when he did win the whole shebang. So we'll see what he's able to do here. Is that another turn one cue? Is this every game the player on the left just pulls the cue on the first turn and either plays QI cat or exchanges? Like, this is unreal at this point.
I think Benji got it last game at least. Ben. And so Alec is going to play pretty quickly here. QI seems pretty standard. Both dictionaries, QI is probably the most commonly played word.
Yeah, that play wrote itself. So you just recognize that, move on, and hope for a good draw of consonants to turn that into a bingo, which didn't happen for him. But unfortunately, it's one of those things where it wasn't really much of a decision. It was more just something that had to be done.
Absolutely. And you've heard me talk before about the philosophy of playing short versus playing long on turn one. Well, Alec didn't have a lot of options. David's rack is a perfect example of why you try to avoid stringing floaters unless they're giving you many additional points. He would have Trampier or Imparter if he had an E to play through, and Alec did not give him one with his opening of QI. So that's going to limit David's options. He'll be scoring significantly less and probably just underlapping that with some sort of play like Armpit as he's got set up or something similar to that.
Yeah, I'm thinking he might. Armpit looks really strong. I wonder if he was considering anything else, something even shorter. But I think the need to break up the R's too is a consideration that makes Armpit a more appealing one.
Absolutely, yeah. I think Armpit is a tough play to make because it strings so much out. Maybe some players would be more inclined with a smaller word like RIT underneath QI, but I think this is the right thing to do. Score some more points and kind of open things up a little bit. We'll see what Alec is able to do in response with this rec here. Looks like Cameo kind of jumps out as an original auction, or COMAE, I believe, is also good. Just kind of plays through the M. He's got O-create as well through the R in armpit, or O-create if he chooses to hold on to a T. So quite a few options, but nothing that's going to stand out as more than about 20 or 22 points for Alec.
There's one 8-letter word that would play if you had the right letter on the board, which he doesn't, but it's a fun one of the 5 vowel 8s.
Absolutely. Chat can definitely let us know about what that one. I'm sure y'all see it over there, but I'm not going to let Sean spoil it on stream. Y'all do the anagramming, find Alex 8. There we go. Ding, ding, ding goes to Alex Dings with the K. That's so disgusting. Nice find, Sean.
And one thing to note, so we were talking a bit about these players are both really experienced and have had a whole lot of achievements in Scrabble. I know Alec tends to be a player who, if you break down amount of decision-making focused towards scoring points immediately, board positioning, closedness sort of stuff, and what letters you keep, those 3 parts, Alec definitely, I think, goes more towards board scoring immediately and what letters he keeps. I think board positionally, he thinks, they're going to be some open boards, some closed boards. I'm just going to focus on my scoring. And so a lot of, I'm going to guess at least some of his decision points here will favor towards the thing that is close to the higher equity player, basically most score right now and good synergistic moves.
Yeah, Alec has also improved so much so fast as a player. I remember playing him at the Nationals, I believe, in 2017, and he was good. He was a solid mid-1800s player, and then all of a sudden, bam, he shot up into the 2000s and proved he belonged there, and then won the Nationals. So I'm curious to see how his strategy has evolved over the 2 years pre-pandemic, and then additionally after that, post-pandemic, was he playing at home? Was he on one of those new engines? So he is going to go down with O-create, setting up that fun front hook of a C. Co-create, I believe, is good. I may have been more inclined to play Toea, overlapping armpit and keeping things tight here, but I think Alec has decided, hey, I'm just going to score more points right now and keep things open, and we'll see where this goes. And I think it's going to pay dividends for him, because David doesn't have too much in terms of counterplays. We mentioned the Z is so powerful in CSW with ZA, ZO, and ZE possibilities, but I'm not seeing anything outstanding. Sean, am I missing a good overlap in CSW?
I think that you're correct. There's nothing outstanding. I mean, he can definitely score in a normal, solid 30 points or something. But if it's to the Z, it's just not that satisfying to walk away with only that. But that might be what he has to do in order to balance his rack again. O-create, I thought, was a good play to turn over tiles and just see what else could be done. I think it was kind of one of those plays where we sort of learn a lot about what kind of player Alec is, and as you kind of described, willing to just let the tiles fall where they may, and just kind of not be too afraid to kind of move forward. Now, I'd love to see what. Oh, he's taking the Zoe play, who gets a 40-something points there. Does have to give up the his only vowel, and has to hope that he's going to pull something along with it. It also creates a pretty dangerous spot. Doesn't look like that dangerous spot is going to hurt him. But I think Rez is the scoring play, and interesting choice by David.
Yeah, other options, Graze or Grazer, something like that through the A, just scores so little. You'd like to cash that Z, but unfortunately Eldar was just not able to pull more than one vowel after that long armpit play, and so he's not able to punish any harder with the Z than that.
Yeah, and if you're Alec here, I think you're probably just going to cash in the X below the M in armpit, making max, EA, and Axe. That feels pretty natural here.
We got some high-level play, 3-letter word with the Z for a bunch of points, and now we're about to see a 3-letter word with an X for a bunch of points. Y'all at home can make those plays as well, but that's how Scrabble goes. You sometimes just drop your letters and score a bunch of points. That's what the Z is for, that's what the X is for, and both players here cashing in their respective goodies for a good score there.
So Alec has placed Max, taking 44 more points and reclaiming the lead.
For David, this means what to do about these G's. He's got the two of them. He's got a lot of consonants. The overlaps on acts there's a simple one of just playing rem, for example, or playing men. Those don't do a whole lot for you. It's kind of, there are turns in Scrabble where sometimes there is no great play. Sometimes it's just you have to choose between bad and less bad. And I wonder how. No, he's Meng. Oh, I didn't realize Meng was good. So that definitely improves what I just said. It allows it to uncouple those G's. So, but yeah, it's a good score. A solid play by David to hopefully for him now draw some vowels and get back into a bingo prone position.
And Mang, it looks like, does take a back hook of an E in addition to an S in CSW, so that's going to be huge going forwards. Eldar probably not super enthusiastic about opening that spot, but really just had no other choice but to do it because his other options were so poor in score compared to that one. We'll see what Alec is able to do in order to punish that. He certainly won't overlook that spot, pun absolutely intended, and I'm not sorry for it. And we'll see what kind of options he has available playing there.
Well, Canadians tend to apologize, so I would have been sorry if I had made that pun, but...
No, I mentioned this morning, I will not apologize for a pun. I never will. It is who I am, and I'll be here all day.
Yeah, and so it is interesting. This game has kind of naturally unfolded to the left side of the board. There is a clear way to open the right side, either pluralizing QI to make QIS or making putting a letter in front of IT above the I in QI and the T in armpit. So for now, I think we're going to be looking at this left side of the board for a while as Alex plays over, and with the possible extension of him drawing into overlook next turn if he draws an O. But at some point, if I had to guess, once this side of the board becomes exhausted, someone will have to make a play to the other side, and then it could just be the Wild West on that side.
Really interesting decision there, over versus KOEL, Coel in the same spot. If you're Alec, you're holding on to LOK, and you're an O away from a long extension, but there are so many things that can go after over as well that you're giving your opponent that option. Very interesting decision.
And Alex should assume Eldar will see any of those sorts of plays right away. Eldar has really good board vision. I remember he won, I forget which tournament, one of the really large tournaments by seeing a triple non-bingo through 2 tiles. So I wouldn't put it past... if you're Alec making that decision, you have to think, there's a chance he'll get it, and he will always see it if he gets it, but I'm putting myself in a decent position at least.
So what does David have as options now? Because maybe the Azo play is time to play ban. He seems to be considering ban. Looks pretty solid to me. I mean, Azo and Collins does take the front L, but I think Alec may be looking for something longer if he can play a bingo. I don't know if anything...
Well, he has Kinfolk set up, and that would be a kit.
Double K bingos. We'd love to see that. Wolfkin is also available. I'd much rather he make that play on Wolfrim than on David Eldar, but it is still an option for him in either case.
Yeah, nice one. I forgot. Yeah, I forgot Wolfskin. You can take out the S in there.
That is only Collins, but at least to my knowledge. But yes, Wolfkin and Kinfolk both available to Alec. Man, David, if I could give him some advice personally, he should try to draw more vowels than he's been doing. It's so hard to score with 1 vowel on each rack, and just poor decision making on his part to not draw any over and over.
Yes, well, although we all wish we could will our way into the right letters at the right time, I think David is kind of in a similar pace to that QI, where sort of like the right play is just writing itself, and he's playing ban. Fortunately, for David, kinfolk won't fit right straight over there because a couple of the letters fit, but not all three. So it means that kinfolk will probably be played in no man's land.
Yes, for those less familiar with Collins, AZO does take the front L in this lexicon, and Alec is dangerously close to a destructive overlap for over 100 points, but it doesn't quite fit, and Alec is going to be forced to play kinfolk elsewhere for significantly lower score.
Well, actually, he can play Wolfkin and Azon, which I just realized, so that could be...
Oh, wow. Wolfkin and Azon, or he could forego the bingos here and play something just like Link. There's actually many options. This is going to be a fun turn to watch. And Alex, I bet, thinking real hard about this one.
Yeah, this will be interesting.
He sees Wolfkin.
He has Wolfkin now, so I think he'll probably pull the trigger on this. The sense I get is, I remember when he won the Nationals against Carl Johnson in the finals. He, I think, found the awesome Playgoer with a blank. And I think he chose that over some plays that might have simmed slightly higher that were non-bingos, but really good bingos are just so hard to pass up. And it's a safer route than making a high point play and hoping you draw the right stuff for a bingo the next turn. So
Absolutely,
Wolfkin, I think, is absolutely the right play here, and great find by Alec.
And Sean, correct me if I'm wrong as a resident Collins expert. Azon does have a front hook in CSW, correct?
It takes a G, yeah.
It takes a G.
That could be a factor in this game right now. The blank W is sitting out there in the triple lane, but with all the confidence, doesn't see much that he can do. Was there a 5-point challenge there?
I don't think so.
No,
okay.
I don't think so.
Okay. I was just checking what was going on. Yeah. So, but yeah, I think it's very possible that we'll see that hook come right now. I wonder what would be the exact right word to play. Is there more than a 3-letter word that can be played there?
So, I mean, angry or agri, agri is columns only A-G-G-R-Y, are both available, getting the Y to the double letter score. So I think you'd prefer those most likely over something like gang. But yeah, otherwise, another option is jargony as well through the O in Wolfkin. All of those are really high scoring.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, jargony retaining a second G to leave for the Azon spot, I think, is probably what's going to be played here. But agri looks very solid as well.
Well, yeah. if that vowel O is not available, then this may be difficult for Alec in the next turn to the nth degree.
Yeah, and the chat points out overgang as a beautiful extension to over, which would score the same amount actually as gang in the Gazon spot. So either of those would be 39 points, jargony would be 40 points, and David Eldar elects to go for the higher point, scoring 48-point play of agri. I think really good idea.
Alec is now taking a page out of Eldar's book, drawing 7 consonants, but we are going to see our first challenge of the game, just a 5-point. Remember, this is CSW 5-point challenge, so Eldar is going to gain another 5 points for his 5-letter play of agri. And that is a tough word. It doesn't compare, which is probably what Alec is thinking of right now. The chat has pointed out to us that it is a noun. West African variated glass beads.
Of course.
Yes. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I've heard of those too. And so agri comes down. An additional 5 points for Eldar has to feel nice as well. And Alec is sitting on 7 consonants. So just like that, Eldar's caught back up from the big play of Wolfkin. And he's going to continue catching up, I think, depending on his next draw.
Yeah. What does Alec do here? I mean, he does have NTH as an option. So or nth. That can go directly above the IT in QI and armpit, respectively. That seems fine. I guess playing something through the O and Wolfkin might be a bit more defensive, though.
Something like Holt or LOTH are options as well. Nth is going to score a little bit and keep a dynamic leave. Or he could consider exchanging as well. I don't believe NTH takes an S in CSW. but I need to double check that. Okay, it does not. It does not take an S. So it does hold the dynamic HLST, but it's on a board where bingos are going to be pretty hard to come by without beginning with the letter S. And I think it's tough to pass those points, though. I think Alec, yeah, there he goes. He is going to play NTH for just 10 points and retain a good lead.
I think I preferred the other spot. It's only one fewer point to play Holt, for instance, and I feel like it minimizes the variance a lot more.
Yeah, I love this play of Jai coming back. It seems to be just the perfect thing, scoring and balancing the rack and taking away some other dangers, and that one seemed to also sort of right itself. But will Alex bingo on his rack play?
So hustled, yeah, I think he basically blocked his own hustled spot, unfortunately.
Yeah, this is the issue with the play like
unless over hustled is a word. I'm not sure about that.
Oh, do it. It
is not.
TWL, maybe you give it a stab.
I had to check. No, it is not. But unit and ST are there, but it doesn't quite fit the whole way through.
Well, overheld at a minimum is available. It's not over hustled, but it's still 45 points.
Wow.
There's actually 4 overextensions out of this rack: overheld, overlush, overdust, and overused are all available. And outside of that, we're not seeing many options that are going to score more than about 18 to 22 points. So if Alec is able to find and hit one of those extensions, that would probably be the best thing for him. I think overheld would be the standard option here. You'd like to hold on to that S as this board gets more closed and that armpit spot gets more and more relevant.
I actually think, so he had Lush set up on his rack for a few seconds, and I think that might be worth considering here, just because there have been no S's played yet. So there are 3 S's remaining. And if you look at this board, what is the S doing? Not that much. So over Lush could come down. That's what he had set up a second ago. I wouldn't fault him for that.
No, I think both are reasonable plays, overheld and overlush. I could definitely make a case for either one to be played here. Still, I would rather hold on to the S. I know there are 3 unseen, but I think it's just going to be an important tile to open this board back up if I want to, or to stop my opponent from opening it back up if I do end up taking a lead within the next few turns. So I would prefer to grab the extra points and retain the S with overheld, but you're totally right. Either one is a fully justifiable play.
Yeah. I actually didn't realize there haven't been any Ds played yet either. So overheld and overlush. I guess if you really like the E over the U, that'd be the main reason to play it. But yeah, lots of S's and D's remaining, I guess.
This is a bizarre situation. There are actually more vowels than consonants left in the bag at this point, and that is very uncommon in Scrabble. Typically, there's about a 6-4 or even like 2-1 ratio, depending. But to see more vowels than consonants, we're going to see some very bizarre racks at the end of this game, and I think the player who ends up drawing more of those is the one who's going to lose.
Well, if it was me playing on David's turn right now, this is where I would self-destruct by fishing for an F that I won't get to extend this to femininity. That middle column would be my dream, to just dump the P and hope to draw the other F.
So a 5-point challenge is coming here. So I guess overlush with the 5-point challenge, that could tip the scales for overlush versus overheld if you think your opponent could challenge.
Yeah, and I mean, these are 2 of the very best Scrabble players on the planet right now, easily within the top 10, I believe, both of them. And it's really telling to see that even they're challenging words. They're giving 5 points to each other. We've seen each player now make a challenge on words that are not so uncommon that you would never expect to see them. I was surprised that Wolfkin is the one that doesn't get challenged, whereas Agri and Overlush are the ones that are. But, that's the thing about a 5-point challenge, is it really does make the game more approachable to everybody. And even the best players in the world are willing to give up 5 points just to double check.
And the thing is, like, a word like Wolfkin has a great. It's just much more memorable than a word like overlush, where it sounds like it seems perfectly fine when you're studying, but then when you come to a game situation and you've seen tons and tons and tons of overwords, and you think, well, is that really one of them, or was that just one that I'm thinking was one of many? It becomes much harder, and it's that little bit of doubt that gets thrown in your head that you say, well, let me just double check and make sure I'm not letting this person walk over me with a phony, which could be worse. So I think that's really a factor. And here comes Enjoy, which is a nice score.
Yes, very good high-scoring play for Eldar to actually take the lead in this game, as Alec has pulled into Treadle that he's not going to be able to do anything with. So I think David now in the driver's seat, but he's got to watch out for those vowels as he pulls into IIP. There's another I. There's an O. And there's an S. Okay, so there's a little bit of solace, but he's not going to be able to bingo. And I think we're going to see a lot of strange draws going forward in this game just because of the lopsidedness of the pool. It's amazing that Alex still somehow dodged several of those vowels.
Yeah, and I'm guessing his next play, if he sees it, is going to be Dealer directly underneath Enjoy, making a bunch of two-letter words also. It keeps 3 consonants, but as Matt's been saying, the bag is so consonant-heavy. I think you just take the high-scoring play of Dealer here.
Well, that'll be a relief for David, maybe, because then he can just dump high away and balance his rack without having to exchange.
Yeah, if I'm David, I'm still looking to try to score. That blank is going to give me enough flexibility, and this board is so non-conducive to bingos that I don't think I can give it all up and just try to play something like HIOI for such a low score. But at the same time, with such an ugly rack, there's not too many other options available. This will be interesting. But yeah, I do think Dealer is going to be the play for Alec. 38 tiles unseen at this point to Alec. Of those, 20 are vowels and 1 is a blank. So that is going to make a really interesting end of the game for us.
Yeah, and the chat is pointing out Alec almost has Deldar, which is, I think, David Eldar's handle on one of the, either Twitch, I forget what it is, but good find by chat.
Yeah, without those plays through the AL, Alec is not really having too many solid options here. Quackle's initial speedy player says just play ED at the end of Enjoy, which is a terrible play that no one should ever make. But that just shows you how dire things are here. DEAL or Dealer, I think, are probably what's going to end up coming down. But this is tricky. If you're Alec, you don't want to get caught up fishing on a board like this, especially when you don't have an S. But what else can you actually do? And the more tiles you pull over, the more of those vowels you're going to end up picking up and getting stuck with. So I don't think either player is in a fun place right now. David with his terrible rack full of all the I's, and Alec with whatever this is. It's not fun, closed board, and man, I do wonder how this game is going to turn out, because it's going to be interesting. I know that much.
Okay, so he's playing the Dealer now. I think it makes a ton of sense. And this is going to be key. I mean, even though there are a lot of vowels, E's aren't the most common vowel left, which there are 12 E's in the game, which is 3 more than any other vowel. Right now, there are more O's and I's from Alex's perspective. Now, we know David Eldar has a lot of the I's, but we'll see if he can draw the good vowels, if he draws vowels.
Very curious to see what David's going to do with the rack like this.
Alec somehow drew, all the consonants, and meanwhile Eldar is sitting on the vowels. So, what next?
I think MAXI and IO is a pretty reasonable option here. It scores a little bit more than something like HIOI. It leaves that H, which I think synergizes well with your P and with your S. So that's pretty solid. The S is also solid to start a word with and overlap over lush with SH. So I think Maxi and OI is a decent way to score a little bit right now. There are options as well to kind of blow it up and score a little bit more. Something like PISO and Dealers could come down. It holds II blank, drawing into infinite vowels. But if you want to score 29, that's one way you could do it.
Yeah, and the compromise is you could also score 29 for iOS parallel to the KIN in Wolfkin, making a bunch of nice overlaps. You could even just play IO there, honestly. It doesn't create a new S lane, but maybe you just prefer to not blow things up.
Yeah, David is probably going to take some time on this because he's really got to decide, hey, how do I get myself out of this? I can't get caught up scoring 10, 12 over and over, but that S does feel so important on this board. But there are two more. So he's probably going back and forwards in his head. Also, definitely probably aware of the unseen pool and what he's going to be drawing into, because a lot more I's, bunch more O's, a lot more U's to be pulled as well, and none of that's going to go well together.
Yeah, I mean, this will be interesting to see what he does. If he does play Highway, I don't even know what Alec can do with his letters. There's so little opportunity for him to make plays with the letters he happens to have on this board.
Well, in Collins, yeah, this guy's got CH. So if
that's fair.
If nothing else, he'll play cow or clown or something over there, and so that's why in this case, Highway would really compromise them in a big way, and that's what's happening.
Yeah, so very, very prescient choice, I guess, by David. Good job there.
And Sean called that one out right away, and David crucially is holding on to two consonants here, which is going to balance out U, U, E as his pull. I can't say we didn't see that coming. I can't say David didn't see it coming either. His play of Hioi or Hioi holding the consonants kind of indicated he was aware that this was a possibility. And now Alec has a choice to make as well. He's got to be aware of the sheer number of vowels unseen to him. I know a CH in Collins takes like a number of front hooks, right? ACH, OCH are good. And so even if you do make that play, you're actually opening the board aggressively when maybe you don't need to, but how else do you score points?
The thing is, Eldar is actually sitting on a 7-letter word now, and there is a bingo, and it plays in more than one place on the board. So if he sees it, which I imagine he will be able to take control of this game for the deep run into the trenches.
Oh boy, yeah, that's a word, Euripus, EURIPUS. Some players may know that the 6-letter version, the plural EURIPI, which is a great way to dump some garbage tiles. Alec is going to end up playing Cowl right there with the CH, and that's going to give him a spot to play Euripus for even more points. And that's going to come down right away as we get into what's going to be the grindy portion of this game. Big draw for Alec here. If he's able to pick some of the good vowels, then he's got some chance, but instead he's going to pick up WU, which is never fun in this game. I think a famous Scrabble saying is, if you could play wood, WUD, you probably should. So if you could play wood, you probably should. And he's got it here. I don't know that we'll see him play it out of this rack because there's other scoring options, but not a fun draw, not something Alec wanted to see for sure.
Yeah, it looks like David. I was just going to say, it looks like David is drawing a lot of the quote-unquote good vowels, but maybe too many of them. We'll see.
The first thing that jumps out at me for Alec is daw and the overlapping cowl forming ak and wo. I don't know if what else he can do really. Obviously the U is less preferred vowel than the A, but it's often difficult to get rid of both the W and U in a single turn. What is sort of the first word somebody will think of when they look at these tiles, but it doesn't seem like that plays anywhere of consequence. So it's going to be a difficult rack for Alec to sort of work out, just if there's missing any options, what other options are there. But I think that's at the end of the day, a pretty good play because there's a good chance that he'll, from his vantage point, that he could draw into some good letters and maybe be in a bingo prone position. And now that Euripus is on the board, there's additional shape to the board too.
Yeah, I'm not as afraid if I'm Alec to hold on to NSTU. That U specifically is generally not one you want to keep, but it synergizes well with what's left. There's several E's, I's, and O's, and that's going to synergize well with anything, and no additional U's that he could draw since David hogged them all with his play of Euripus. So nice play by Alec there. And it looks like he's going to miss all of the E's, as David's drawn most of them, and still end up with kind of a garbage rack that's not going to score well, as David's sitting on something that's more balanced than it could have been as a post-bingo draw.
Yeah, well, he just needs to not stick out the second. Oh no, turnouts is 2 U's, not 2 O's. I was going to say he just needs to make sure not to stick out an O, but no, that doesn't matter. So
I don't envision David opening lanes really. Just score, balance, and keep it kind of tight. That's what he's looking to do, and there's maybe multiple ways to do that. It's going to be pretty debatable as far as like what does it really, and I think I can't quite see all of his rack, but even a play of maybe OD forming KO and ID could be something to consider. He's got actually some pretty nice rack there with the B. So now that I can see a little bit more, I think he may be looking to score more points than that. But we'll see what happens now.
Yeah, this is tough. I mean, if I'm David, I'd like to maybe see that last bingo line go away. I am worried about the dealer's hook as well as a way for Alec to score some substantial points, or even plays from that W on the top. Even though it is a blank, you can still hit a triple word. So lots of things for David to think about in terms of where he thinks Alec may be able to score the most points. And in terms of what he needs to do in terms of blocking. He does have enjoyable, which is a fun little extension that he absolutely shouldn't make given the state of this game. Lots of options. Probably a small little play at the top, not blocking anything, would win a sim here, but just because something wins a sim does not mean it's the best play at all. Computers play very differently from humans. So I think OBE in the top left corner is kind of a standard play that a lot of people will see. There's options making BACH as well, but oh man, this is an interesting turn. It looks like he's thinking about playing doable, which I think would make EE next to Euripus and just kind of block off a lot of the board. It would give Alec kind of one shot to hit eights through that play, but otherwise would close things off pretty well. I believe EE has just a few back hooks. It doesn't take an S, but it takes an N, L, K, and W. So
yeah, I'd be concerned about the N, but he doesn't seem to be as worried. So, and that's going to work in his favor in this case. Looks like I don't believe Alex tiles will quite fit on this board in a response.
No, great play. And as we mentioned on the stream yesterday, we're not super worried about words that start with N playing down there because nothing starts with N.
Yeah. So N, as a reminder, is one of the smallest sections of the dictionary, and so that Dave's probably just playing the odds. I mean, one thing doable also does is it really speeds up towards Endgame. There were before 10 tiles in the bag. He just played off 6, so now there are only 4 tiles in the bag, and he has a 33-point lead. He maybe thought the chance of Alec bingoing after a play like doable is there, but it's going to be small. And his worst chance is if Alec keeps on scoring and just for a few turns in a row makes up a difference of like 10, 15, or 20 points. So I like this idea to speed up towards the end game.
And David...
Go ahead, Sean.
I was just saying, David's drawn the remaining eyes, which will perhaps be difficult for Alec if he's trying to imagine what bingos he could draw into if he were to open another lane. Because the first thing that I would have thought of is, hey, what if I just dump off a T and try to go for nitrous in one spot and open a lane in another spot? And that type of thing is not going to work. But because there are a few tiles left, he may be trying to make a fish that'll let him leave only one in the bag and make it challenging for David to completely lock it. So I wonder what's the thought process there. The deficit isn't so much, but it is enough that it's not so easy to catch up without a bingo.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
wondering if a play like Rot, given that... Oh, no, there is another T left in the game. I was going to say you would have had the case T, but no. Yeah, it's tough because there is an S remaining and there is a T remaining from Alex's perspective. So normally those would probably be the two tiles. If you were to make a juicy lane for yourself, you'd want to create a lane for a T or an S. But those two tiles are... David could easily have either or both of them from Alex's perspective here.
I just want to go back and talk about that play of doable. I mentioned on David's turn that there are plays like OBE he could have made at the top, or little plays making Bach at the bottom, but doable is a 2100 caliber play. It's a way to take a pre-end game that could be anybody's game and manipulate it and make things far in your favor. You know, just through one play, even with a bad post-play draw, David is now sitting comfortably in the driver's seat. He leaves 4 in the bag, making it difficult for Alec to do something about. And while, yes, Alec could maybe bingo through those floaters, it actually probably reduces the odds that Alec bingos pretty substantially just by taking out that spot and making it harder to hit. That is a fantastic play by David Eldar. He's really flexing the skill that makes him one of the best players in the world. And that's a play I don't think many players would do, but one that's going to turn this game in his favor.
Yeah, great. And that's the sense I get. Like, I've talked with a few people about what makes David Eldar so good, and I think his situational awareness of implementing those kinds of plays, he is going to nail that almost every time. He understands, given a score, given how many tiles in the bag, what is my objective here? And it sounds a lot simpler than it is in reality. He makes it look easy when it isn't an easy thing to do at all. And so, as Matt said, it really is a masterclass kind of play.
That is a play that I think very few players would make, but it is truly a stellar play. It seems a little counterintuitive, seems almost a little bit crazy, and yet it was fantastic. Great job.
Yeah, I might have made that play, but not understanding the strategy and why it's good. I would have just played it because I see 6 tiles and maybe I can just see where to score some points. And that's something that now I can appreciate that there's more to. There's much more to it. But I think when looking at Alex's vantage point, and I'm thinking to myself, well, you know that you're might be trying to play a couple of tiles and see how you can somehow eke this out. So I'm wondering whether you're able to see any 8s in the unseen tile pool that start with W, because if you're able to kind of like play for that not very likely spot, but it is one of the spots that's sort of out there and open and probably not likely, it's just about as dangerous as the bingos with N. They're both kind of low probability. Now, if he's thinking that the I is available, then he might be thinking that he can get nitrous down, and that's kind of a misleading thing for Alec right now because obviously there are no I's actually in the bag.
So yeah, something like Rentits, WRENTITS, should be available from his perspective, I think. Making Thrive, and that would also give Tinters, if he could play off the... So he plays Udo, UDO, and makes... Udon is a word, so that would create 2 different bingo lines for him. So maybe Udo is the play.
Yeah, he's definitely got to decide how many tiles he wants to play. Needs to leave at least 1 in the bag. You can't give Eldar complete knowledge of your rack in this situation. You also definitely need to create multiple opportunities for you to score. So maybe a play off one of the tiles in Europus would be a good idea, just to create another line for your S while keeping that floating O and A available up at the top.
Yeah. So yeah, but I think playing off the UO is the correct move here, given that the E and the I are the only 2 tiles from Alex's perspective with 2 remaining. So I think that would be the route I would go. It looks like he's electing to do a 1-tile fish instead, probably noticing that E and I pairs with the 6 tiles he has remaining anyways. So it makes a lot of sense. I understand Ut as a play. But I do like Sean's idea of guaranteeing 2 bingo lanes.
So Alex somehow reached into the bag and pulled out the only remaining vowel into that rack with like a V in the bag and some other garbage. So that was very, very clutch in terms of keeping some balance.
Yeah, it creates an interesting thing because when you're playing against a player like David, somebody so high rated and so skilled, um, they're if you only have one in the bag, you can work out even all the bingos for all the possible draws. Leaving playing only one tile, leaving maybe three in the bag it creates a little bit more work for him to do to work out all the possibilities. So from that perspective, I think that's neat. Also neat is because that fish for nitrous. He plays a T, in the bottom, it opens a lane for E hook and other the S and everything else, but it also still fits nitrous because the U would land and make Utu, which is good in column. So that's pretty clever, like way of opening a lane, and yet really uh, giving himself some kind of chance in a game where it was kind of closing in on him, and now he's got some tonsure on his rack. Maybe something could happen in his favor.
With three in the
Yeah,
bag, Eldar needs to play IF next to Wolfkin right now.
that's
Leave
it.
one. He'll concede the bingo, and I think he's going to be able to outrun it. He's going to draw into some consonants, and if he does draw vowels, that means that Alec doesn't have them and isn't going to bingo anyway. So I think IF is going to win this game in many, many instances for David Eldar, just by virtue of he's going to get one additional play and he can outrun this.
Yeah, and that's one thing I dislike about it. Does create a lot of bingos, but not high enough scoring bingos. You really need to hit the trip when you have all one pointers like that, and you're already down by 30. And Eldar, if he has the F, will likely have another 30+ point play. You really, really need to have a high 70s point bingo to possibly win the game. Whereas Ut doesn't quite cut it for those high scoring plays. So yeah, I think I understand it. It hits a lot of bingos, but I don't think it's enough of high scoring bingos to really have your opponent to really complicate the game for your opponent.
Unfortunately for Eldar, Alec is going to have kind of a more worst case scenario. He's got Outsnore at the top, he's got Tonsure at the bottom making Utu, and so, even if he is considering blocking here, it's actually impossible to do so with what Alec has. Now, David also definitely is looking at this unseen pool right now, and with a one-tile fish, he can more or less assume Alec wasn't holding onto that V. So he's probably going to draw it and be able to wield it for a lot of points. Or if Alec did draw it, I bet he missed his bingo. So in either case, knowing that V was in the bag when Alec played is great news for him. He has to assume Alec was holding on to something like Stoner or Stone, a rack that's very probable that you're going to hit several fishes with a one-tile play. He's not sitting on both tees at the same time, or he wasn't when he played that. So you can expect, as Eldar, to draw one of those for sure. And that's got to be nice, knowing you can score some points on your next play, even after you make a play like if.
Yeah, I'm also wondering, is there if scores so much so I doubt you can do better, but is there a way to play off the F now and set up a crazy V spot?
There's no need to do that. Alec's bingos are going to open up a triple word square in either case, so just keep some vowels and drop your V on that triple word when Alec does bingo, whether it's Outsnore or Tonsure or something else. If is going to be able to outrun, you just have to be able to guarantee you make one more play and score now and score next turn. So, IF also holds to hit the dealer spot, even if Alec, for whatever reason, doesn't give you as many points as you want. This is definitely David's game, I think, if my preliminary assessment is correct.
And one more point, actually, that the chat asked. The V, if David Eldar plays two tiles, like for if, and the V is the one tile he doesn't pick in the bag, and Alec bingos, he might get V stuck.
It's not a might, it's a he will get V stuck. There are no spots to put a V, and that's not going to change. He will get V stuck. So either David cashes it for 30, or Alec eats it. And in either case, that's good news for Eldar. IF has to win this game, but David's going to take all of his time and make absolutely sure that is correct.
Yeah, sorry, one quick thing. For those who are new in the chat that doesn't know what V stuck means, all that means is at the end of the game, if you can't play a letter, you have to pass as your turn. So Alec would continue to have to pass every single time, and Eldar could take as many turns as he needs to maximize the points on his rack.
Well, leaving a tile in the bag, and it will create a situation where Alec, knowing that Tonsure or tenors, like they lose the game. So he could have the option. I might take the option of attempting to do one more fish, even though David would have complete information on that fish, but that might be the best thing that he could do, knowing that counter and tenors are definite losses, and if there's some way that he could create a situation where he could fish for the last letter, and that was somehow unblockable. That is maybe Alex's only hope after if.
Yeah, I think the ability to counterfish is something Alec will consider with his remaining 2 minutes. But I just think making a one-tile play and allowing David to play again with perfect knowledge of your rack. David is getting low on time, but he's probably still going to be able to find a sequence that either blocks appropriately, scores enough, or possibly even does both. So if I'm Alec, I'm thinking that's probably not going to do it anyway. I'm just going to milk what spread I can out of this game and kind of accept the loss after IF comes down. Uh-oh.
Oh, no. He decides to empty the bag.
My goodness, and he's going to get bingoed out on without Snore. So Eldar just lost this game.
Wow.
I'm speechless right now. I'm very, very curious. Maybe that was an aggressive play trying to milk some spread, but I don't know if he saw the possibility of outsnore. Maybe he had assumed Alec definitely had a different rack than he had. But wow, that is if was maybe 100% to win this game, if not very, very close to it. And I'm shocked that David decided not to make that play. Wow. Wow.
I think, honestly, what happened is he miscounted how many tiles were in the bag. He was setting up the F there. If you look, SAI creates if as an option.
Unbelievable. I don't think he miscounted the number of tiles in the bag. That's not something you see from a world champion. I think maybe he didn't notice outsnore. Maybe he had Alec absolutely set on a different rack than what Alec had. But I am shocked that we just watched David lose this game. Wow. He's upset. He's very upset right now. Look at that. Oh, man.
No, because why would he? I guess he would empty the bag if he thinks Alex truly couldn't get a bingo at all, but
maybe he thought he blocked everything. Maybe he thought he blocked everything, but that A floating there with what he had unseen, I don't know. That is shocking to me. Wow. He's not even throwing the +5 at it too. It's not that he didn't know outsnore. He just, I don't know what that was. I'm very, very confused about that play. Yeah, I mean, he's going to go back and think about this one. Oof. Oof. Big oof. Yeah, he even put down the IF right there, and he's talking about it. I'm curious to hear this post-mortem, but...
Yeah, I don't know if we can get audio from them right now. It would be cool to hear for a sec if they're comfortable. Got it. So we understand from our producer that Twitch chat can hear.
So Morris, you need to stop talking and let them hear the post-mortem. We'll be quiet now and let y'all hear a little bit of this. We'll be back with round 14 in a few minutes.